The desert, the sand, the rocks, and the heat. Elements that make even the toughest of creatures seem tame. So what happens when man, machine, and the elements of the desert come together? It's the Reno 400. Located just 30 miles east of Reno, Nevada, is 2.1 million acres of desert that on most days of the week, you can drive for 30 miles in any direction and never see a soul. Today on Speed Vision, both man and machine will challenge the elements of nature. Hi everybody, I'm Larry Naston and welcome to the Reno 400. Many men have tried to challenge the desert in many different ways. Ivan Stewart, Scoop Vessels, Jimmy Smith, and of course the legendary Mickey Thompson. Each of them come to the desert with their own list of reasons. Why do they do it? I don't know. But my broadcast partner today is the man who designed the course and a 13-time winner of the Baja 1000, Rod Hall. Rod, why the Reno 400?
Good question, Larry. But it was just time to bring back the toughest, meanest, dirtiest off-road race in the world. And I wanted to design a course that wasn't made for horsepower, wheel travel. It took a driver, it takes a driver with heart. It takes a team that's willing to go to war and fight all day. That's why the Reno 400.
Now, Rod, the rumor is that it's going to be the toughest off-road race ever run. Is there any particular part in the course that you designed with a little extra flair?
Well, Larry, there's some parts in this race course that I don't even want to drive over myself, just checking out the race course. We got some narrow, twisty canyons in there with washouts on each side, off-camber turns. These drivers are going to have to be on their toes to get through that kind of stuff.
Now, Rod, as technical as the track is, obviously pit conditions are going to be very important.
Yes, it is, and you're going to have to pit crews in the right places, too, because there's some place out there you're just going to burn your car to the ground.
Well, I'll tell you what, as you heard from Rod Hall, the man who designed the course, pit stops are going to be very important during the Reno 400. And with us is the third member of our broadcast team. He's a legendary off-road racer, the son of Mickey Thompson. Danny Thompson is in the pits.
Now, as Rod Hall was mentioning earlier, we have a lot of elements we have to deal with in this desert. There's driver fatigue, there's machinery fatigue, and there can be tire fatigue. Now, here's an example right here of a BF Goodrich tire that's just gone a 90-mile lap. This thing is in perfect shape. It's ready for more laps. Now, here's an example of a tire that has a driver air that came into this. Now, this driver hit a huge rock, and look what it's done to the tire. So things like that can happen, really beat up equipment. Now, the difference between a desert race and a NASCAR type race is, in a desert race, the driver has to get out of the car himself and change the tire himself. Now, when he does that, then he has to work with the natural elements of the desert. And you never know when something can jump right out and bite you.
Well, that could be the case today, and we'll be back with the 1995 Nora Rancho Suspension Reno 400 off-road race next. Welcome back to the 1995 Nora Rancho Suspension Reno 400 off-road race. As the pit area gets ready for racing, the drivers are getting ready for racing, and let's take a look at this brutal race course.
Yes, the first lap, Larry, is about 90 miles. And we put the 90 miles in there because we wanted to get the cars spread out on the first lap. But some of that northern part, where the canyons are tight and narrow, it's really tough. Then the second lap, we cut her down to about 60 miles. Still 4 checkpoints, though, with still a lot of northern Nevada tough terrain to get through.
It is going to be rough, and I'll tell you, the start of this race is very important. Remember, they're not only racing themselves, they are also racing the clock, and that's very important. Here, competitor Chad Hall, running in the stock production class, running a turbocharger on that Hummer to see just how well it does in the desert. Remember, they're using a lot of research and development time here in the Reno 400. Chad Hall will be followed by teammate Austin Robinson, both out of Reno, Nevada. He's driving number 864, and we've got a lot of competitors here from all over the country, including Canada, racing with us this afternoon. Going to be a tough one. Remember, you're not necessarily racing the class, you're racing for an overall win here at Reno 400. That's what counts, packing in the win. Dr. Don Floyd out of Houston, Texas will be racing in the stock production class, a very accomplished physician. He does a great job both in the operating room and his operating room out here in the Reno, Nevada desert. And now let's find out what the course is really like and what they're thinking about with Jim Jennings and Tom Edwards as we get a great shot of our helicam.
Oh, just relaxing a little bit, trying to get dialed in and get my head straight. Make sure we don't get overconfidence too early. So, ought to be a good day.
I just want to get to the finish line in one piece, tell you for sure. It's going to be a rough one out there today, so we're just going to take her easy and see how she hangs together.
Kind of funny to hear Tom Edwards give his Canadian twist on things. Tony Allen will be running in Class 8, a very tough competitor, and he's looking for his mark on the map, if you will. The Reno 400, remember, race fans, is scheduled to be and has been touted as the world's toughest off-road race, even making the Baja 1000 look tame. They have really thrown some stuff at these guys. We took a look at the helicopters earlier this morning. I wouldn't walk over some of this terrain. Here's some of the competitors getting ready to go. Bobby Land, another tough driver, running in Class 8 in his Jeep. He'll be one to watch today as Bobby Land is very quick, especially in the rough silt beds, and there is a ton of silt out here this afternoon.
Well, and you got to remember now, with this race course, each one of these competitors has an opportunity to win. It's not just only a certain amount of these guys, so they're all serious about winning this race.
Well, also, Rod, they want to win the inaugural race. This is the big one. This is the one you threw together. Rod Hall, of course, a 13-time Baja champion, sitting alongside of me in the broadcast booth today. Tom Edwards from Canada, you heard from him a little bit earlier. His goal is just to finish the Reno 400. He and his $75,000 race vehicle, well, that's a lot just to think about when you come to the Reno 400. These are race-ready, purpose-built vehicles, and all these guys are thinking about is finishing. Rod, you're torturing people.
Well, yes, we are, but that was the plot behind this race.
That's why you're not in the fire suit today, Rod. But I'll tell you what, competitors getting ready to go. Mr. Fisher making his way out. You'll see a lot of him as he is a very determined off-road racer, and he's pretty quick. That Jeep runs very well here. A lot of guys getting set to go. The nerves up right now. Johnny Herman, another competitor. This guy will stuff you. If Johnny Herman gets near you on the race course, you better look out because his truck gets real, real wide.
He's just done a lot of work on that, too, to get ready for this race. He says, I want to win the first Rancho Reno 400.
There's no doubt about it. Now let's go out onto the race course as car number 863, Chad Hall, making his way in the turbocharged Hummer. Now right here, you'll see that it's pretty smooth. That was designed this way to spread the cars out because in just a little while, in maybe 20 or 30 miles, it's going to get really insane. Austin now, Austin Robinson, number 864, a teammate of Chad Hall. Now Austin makes a turn. Chad Hall may have blown a turn. Now remember, we have two helicopters covering today's race. As you can see, very difficult to read the terrain. Now look at the dust behind him. There is no way, if you are bumper to bumper with somebody, you've got to back off just to read the signs. And when you're out in front, your vision is clear, and that is the whole key to desert racing. It is not only horsepower, it is survival. And right here, the course starts to get a little rough, but as the course goes, and as this course goes, we're still in the flat grounds.
Yes, we are. And there's certain places where there's either ors out there, so in case you're following a guy, you can make the right turn and get out of his dust and see if you can get around him.
Rod, you've been in this position many times. What's the feeling when you're on the starting line? You're going on a brand new virgin race course. You've never done it before. How nervous are these guys?
Well, they're really pretty keyed up right now. You know, they've been waiting for a couple hours to get ready to go, and they want to be the first guy out there. They want to get out in the lead as soon as they can. They know this. They got to stay smart. They can't tear up the car. But with all the dust, you got to get out in front as soon as you can.
And there was rumors that guys were out there painting rocks the other day just to mark themselves as they make their way in this Reno 400. The flat grounds, remember, we talked about that earlier, but as they go up into the canyons, it gets horribly rough. And you'll see some great coverage. The helicopters will be flying all over the course this afternoon, and they'll relay positions to us. We'll let you know what's going on. Joe Kellogg getting ready to go. He and his driver and co-driver talked to them earlier this morning. They're a little bit nervous about this. The Reno 400 going to be real tough, and we're really leaning on how tough this is going to be because the racers know that when Rod built this course, he had one thing in mind. Didn't care about motor. He wanted to care about how a driver could stand the elements, and boy, these elements are going to be tough. The rest of the competitors now getting underway, starting of the Reno Rancho 400. A lot of money in these race vehicles. The fans come from all over, big and small, tall and short. Little off-road fan, maybe one day we'll be talking about him racing this legendary Reno 400. Rod, what's the feeling? What's the feeling of that guy? He just took off for 400 miles.
Yeah, well, you see some of these fellows out here, they're sitting there with two-wheel drive trucks. One of the rumor is Rod Hall laid this course out with a Hummer. Did he make it so the rest of us could get through it or not? So they're all kind of anticipating.
There's a guessing game going on down there.
Yes, there is.
I guess a little bit of your personality is going to come out. Well, right now we're taking a look at Austin Robinson as he continues to bury himself in the Hummer, and we'll be back with more of the Rancho Suspension Reno 400 right after this. A peaceful look at the valley here in Reno, Nevada for the Rancho Reno 400. It's peaceful now, but it won't be very long. And in the pits, a lot of fun going on. Ivan Stewart signing autographs, having a great time with everybody. But I will tell you what, we talked to Rod Hall earlier as he was designing this course, and here's a little bit of what Rod put together earlier.
Right here, we're about 3 miles off the starting line. The adrenaline's running fast, the cars are fast, and on this curve right here, could be a good time to end your day early.
Dave Westham, number 80, also is going to challenge this course. He's a pretty tough guy. Let's hear what he has to say.
I think it's going to be a big challenge. It's a rough course, but it'll be a lot of fun, and maybe we'll get some wind this afternoon and kick down some of this dust.
Well, I'll tell you, they're all anticipating a very, very tough race course. Dave Weston, we just heard from him. He's hoping for some wind to get rid of some of that dust. And Rod, I'll tell you, dust is a problem here.
Well, it is. That's part of the desert racing, you know, it's dust. But you know what? You learn how to drive in it. You learn how to be able to anticipate what's going to happen from years to this.
Imagine yourself on a freeway in anywhere USA in a foggy night, having to go 55 miles an hour. Well, try it at over 90 miles an hour. That's what these drivers are going to have to do to battle the Reno 400. Remember, they are racing for position and clock. That's the important part here. Everett Hall will be out as well in Class 1, another guy who can really put it to the metal. But I don't think it's necessarily going to be a horse race battle. It's going to be actually a suspension, technology, and a mind game out there. 400 miles, things get pretty intense. Some of the drivers say you start talking to yourself out there. We're going to see how much talking they're going to be able to do after a rugged 400 miles.
Yes, this is a race of discipline, too. You know, you just can't be standing on the gas because you think you got to go fast.
Yeah, there's no way you can stand on the gas for 400 miles straight in this kind of terrain. As you can see, there's a ton of competitors out here, a lot of them, all on a staggered start, all off the clock.
Yes, we started in 1 minute intervals this time just to break it out a little bit so that at least they'd have a chance to, you know, get in tune with their car.
As we are out on the race cars right now, Jennings out there. Jim, of course, driving the big BF Goodrich Chevrolet as he works now into check number 1. And you'll see him stop, then they'll take off, and he's going to make an immediate left-hand turn here. And this is where the course starts to get into its rough point. As you can see, he goes down into a gully, and Jennings, great helicopter shot of Jennings. And we'll follow him up the canyon a little ways. Now, even though it doesn't look rough, he's running over 3- and 4-foot washout rain ruts here. And boy, I tell you what, Rod, you know what this is all about.
Well, yes, you know, this is a very difficult part of the course to lay out. It was actually just through some washes and canyons with just very faint trails from 100 years ago. And so the rocks have come up and there's ruts and there's really not a lot of things you can remember because it's so bad all the time.
And you can see that it not only is it rough, it's uphill and it's power robbing the Chevrolet as they come now down the fast fire roads upwards of 100 miles an hour here, and they're going to have to slam on the binders and make another turn. This is where it gets tricky. You make a mistake here and it's going to be sky dirt. You're going to roll it.
Yes, it is. And this, they drop into a canyon right here, and this is a very deceiving canyon. You think it's fast, but it's not.
Well, obviously it's power robbing. You can hear the big thunderous V8 really lugging to get the Chevrolet going. But I'll tell you, BF Goodrich Tires playing a big part in this. And here comes another one of the competitors. Well, I tell you what, they get on these fire roads, it's almost like a respite for the driver. But as they get into the canyons, things get squirrely, and they have to really get to work. And that's where the co-driver, Rod, plays a big, important part of this race team.
Well, yes, he does, because what he's done, you know, the guy's driving, he's driving hard, but the guy that's sitting over there, he's paying attention to what's happening to the car, the funny noises, strange noises. He's able to watch the gauges to see what's happening.
Exactly, and every class has its own little idiosyncrasies. You'll see the full-body pickups, you'll see the pickup trucks, the unlimited buggies. You'll see all these guys doing different things to make themselves part of the hunt. But remember, everybody's racing against, namely each other, and more importantly, the clock in the Reno 400. Good shot here of the race vehicles going up into the canyon, and you can hear the power just being robbed, Rod.
Well, yes, this is one in four-wheel drive trucks, so he has kind of an advantage in certain places because he's able to you know, get through the silt beds easier. Doesn't have to run quite as hard to get through there. He has more control of his vehicle.
That's true, but he's also got more parts to break.
Absolutely.
And I'm telling you what, race fans, if this is your first experience in off-road racing, boy, you picked a great one to tune into, because this thing is going to get ugly before it gets even close to the finish line. You'll see all different types of vehicles here, some great shots of different types of vehicles coming through a very tough section. Now at home you may think, well, you just make a right-hand turn and go, but what you're not seeing is the 3- and 4-foot potholes these guys are running through, on top of the fact that they can't see. Great shot of some Rancho suspension shocks in action and BF Goodrich tires grabbing the ground as they make their way down a very fast part of the race course, upwards of 100 miles an hour. Now take a look at what the wheel is doing in the shock travel. A lot of things go on in an off-road race that doesn't really, well, I'll tell you what, it doesn't make any sense, but they go real fast doing it.
Well, the things that probably take the biggest whipping of all is the tires and the shock.
Another competitor making his way up into the canyon. And every good off-road racer knows that what goes up the canyon then must go down the canyon, and that is where things get tough, because it's going to get tight going downhill. Now imagine trying to get the wheels, the suspension, the motor, and everything dialed in to get down one of these tight canyons. And I'll tell you, a great illustration right there of how off-camber this really can be. A lot of wild things happen out in the Reno, Nevada 400, and I'll tell you, the drivers aren't the only wild animals that are out on the race course this afternoon, as some of the local wildlife getting in a couple laps of their own. We'll be back.
We just made a hard left turn, and boom, we're right into the silt bed. This stuff is just like talcum powder, and when the car hits it at speed, it just buries the driver and the car both till you can't even see. And along here, you can see this is fast road, but it's very difficult to drive because you see all the rocks on the side of the road. You got to be sure you got your vehicle exactly where you want it, because you don't want to be out here trying to change a tire in this fast road.
The Hummer Camp giving you pretty close as we can bring it to you, what it feels like to go at speed. Now remember, you've got to make up time on terrain like this, because you're not going to make it up in the canyons, and there's rocks everywhere. Look at the side of the race course. Here comes one of the Hummers coming through right now. That driver was Chad Hall coming through. He's had a great day. Patrick Taylor brings his Ford Ranger into view now as he continues to pound at this Reno 400. The part of the race course you can make up time can be your best friend. If you make a mistake there, it can be your worst enemy. And that's what everybody is trying to figure out. Where can we make up time? What are we going to do in the canyon? Rod, you know you've got to play both sides against the odds.
Well, yes, you do. And one of the things you really got to remember is, you talk about got to make time. Well, the thing you got to also concentrate on is the things that don't cost you time.
Exactly. Here comes Sid Smith now, and Smith is having a fantastic race. Humbug Racing taking care of all the pit duties for him. Bill Rigsby, the crew chief, really got this car working well. And what's going to be interesting is to find out if one of these buggies can make it to the top. And this kid right here, Sid Smith, has got his foot in it. Parker Pumper breathing system working on his helmet. Thank God he has that right now, because without it, he'd be breathing straight dust.
Well, that's right. You know, he don't have a windshield, so whatever comes through gets him in the face.
Here comes Russ Jones. He's got the Russ Jones Motorsport entry. He's also driving the Ford Ranger, vehicle number 703. Jones has had a pretty good run. Had a little bit of problems down in the flatlands, but looks like they've got everything dialed in as they continue to make their way up into the canyon. Now remember, they're going to have to come back down, and you've already seen a preview of how it is. Bob Land making his way down, and here's Bob Land. Now let's hear what he had to say about the mothballs of this project.
Period of time, it fired right up, and we prepped it from beginning to end, and we decided to race it here at the Reno 400. And Quaker State Oil was behind it with their new 4x4 product, which is a synthetic blend, which is specifically designed for this type of vehicle and the work that an engine has to do with it. And that's what we decided to do, and we're here today.
Bob Land took this vehicle out of mothballs. This thing had not been running for a while. With the help of Quaker State 4x4 product, Bobby put it together along with the help of his friends at Takane, BF Goodrich, and Rancho. Now here's a shot of the canyon as they make their way up. Tony Allen working it as he goes up a very power-robbing. Look how tight it is. Boy, Rod, you couldn't put a piece of paper between the wall of the canyon and the track.
Well, no, that's tight. That's really tight through there. And also, when you get top this hill, it's probably 250, 300 feet right off the side of that hill.
And I'm sure every driver out there is thanking you for this one, Rod. Another great helicopter shot as we follow Tony Allen down the hill. Now, it is very tough to go up them. It's equally tough to come down. You've got to be on the brakes, but remember, you've got 400 miles to go. Brakes start to figure into this. If you don't have a good set of brakes when you get to the top of the hill, you are in big trouble. And as you can see, there is no runoff room here at all. Don German now, the road warrior, making his way down the downhill. Don, what a classy character. This guy's been at a ton of desert races, and he's won his fair share of them, Rod.
Oh, he's won a lot of desert racers. In fact, probably today, if things go right for him, he could be the guy to beat in the truck class.
Unbelievable. And he's a great guy, too. Fun-loving guy. Got to talk with him. He was nervous about going into this one. He's driving one of the only vehicles of its type out here, and he really is alone against the elements. And John Herman, we talked about him earlier. He spent a lot of time and money getting this truck ready. And Big John taking it down the downhill. As you can see, the drivers are taking it a little bit easy here. They realize if they make a mistake here, first of all, it's going to cost them the race. Secondly, how are they going to get him out of here?
Well, that's the next thing. See, they're out there by themselves right now. There's no crews real close to them. So you can't be making mistakes where your crews are not.
Unbelievable view of what it looks like going back towards the racers as they make their way up yet another canyon. This is where the course gets real rough. You can see the washouts and the rain ruts, and they have to go over these at speed. Now, Raymond Fisher is a guy who has been winning desert races for a long time in northern Nevada. It took him a long time to get there, Rod, but you've raced him many times. This guy is mean.
Well, yes, it took him a little while to get it together, but I tell you what, once Raymond figured out how to finish races, then he started winning races.
You made a key point right there, sir. Finishing the race. And that is the objective of every one of these guys today. Finish this race at all costs. Whether you do it crawling, walking, or pushing it, you've got to finish. Raymond Fisher, great shot of his No Fear Jeep as he continues to battle the race course here. And you couldn't ask for a more beautiful day here in Reno as they head into yet another checkpoint.
Yes, this is really the most northern part of the race course right now, so they're just going to be going over this one time. So they want to be sure they get it right.
Yeah, but if they make a mistake out here, they're in deep trouble. We're going to be back with the 1995 Nora Rancho Suspension Reno 400 right after this. We're back at the Reno Rancho Suspension 400. Raymond Fisher continuing to battle the course. Now, we are going into checkpoint 3, Rod, and here's a good illustration.
Ah, yes, and they're just coming out of a real nasty canyon as they come into checkpoint 3. We put there on purpose just to keep them slowed down.
Well, you can see the variation. A guy will get real relaxed and think everything's going nice, and all of a sudden he hits a canyon or a rock pile of death, and that's exactly what Raymond's going through right now. Fisher is a real good racer, and Rod has had a lot of time fender to fender with this guy. But in this type of off-road racing, it really starts to play with your head. You're starting to think about a lot of things. Fatigue now is starting to set in. Now remember, they're only going on this part of the race course one time, so they're out of some of the stuff. But what we've put in, or what Rod has put in, is some real nasty terrain coming out of checkpoint 3, going into checkpoint 4. Also, the mile an hour will pick up a little bit as they go back down in towards the flats. And a good shot of Raymond Fisher. Oh, he blows a turn there, and Rod, that may not have been a big thing, but you know as well as anybody else, that 1 second he spent outside of that racetrack is going to cost him somewhere.
Well, the worst part is when you miss a turn like that, not the second you lose, it might be the big boulder you hit.
That's right. Pat Taylor knows that. He's going through the same area right now. The idea to stay on the marked trail. Now, if you got to pass somebody, you want to go outside a little bit. But that's not always the way it works. Sid Smith making his way up the canyon now, and he's had a fantastic run. I know you know a lot about this kid. He's pretty fast.
Well, yes, he is. And he's had a lot of experience, too. So he knows what he's up to. He's been there before a lot of times.
Now, he is all alone in his vehicle, Rod. Does that make it different than a driver with a co-driver?
Well, yes, it does, because everything that happens depends on you. If you have a problem, you're the only guy that's going to be able to fix it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I wouldn't want to be out here in this Reno Rancho Suspension 400 all by my lonesome. But Bill Rigsby's got the car tuned in well, and Sid Smith continues to hammer. The Hummer cam now giving you another shot of what it looks like coming out of that rough canyon section out of checkpoint 3.
Yes, it is. And you know, you see how you got to weave your car in and out. You got to keep it right in those tracks because you never know what's around the corner.
What's it like, Ron? How much are your arms moving here?
Well, you're not moving a lot of turns, but you're moving it back and forth at a very slow motion.
And here comes a problem right now as Mr. Lager has a problem. Neil trying to get himself dialed in. Let's listen in on this. Obviously, he's got a flat tire. You don't get to hear this so often. Luckily, he goes right by where the camera crew is filming, and he's gonna go get a jack.
Yeah, this happens.
Up in the truck.
Yeah, this happens a lot of times out there. You know, you have a problem and you just look around to hope there's somebody there to help you.
And meanwhile, he gets passed by yet another vehicle. They're reaching into the truck now to get the jack. Boy, how lucky was he that the camera crew's there?
He's real lucky, real fortunate.
Because I'll tell you what, there ain't nobody within 30, 40, 50 miles of this guy.
You know, it's surprising when you go down out there.
Well, Rod, thanks to your race course, that tire's junk.
Well, that happens. That's just part of racing.
That's exactly part of racing. And BF Goodrich will take that tire and make a better one. That's what they do.
Well, they just keep building them better and better, and the cars go faster, and they got to keep making them better.
Joe Kellogg now taking number 701, the BF Goodrich Ford Ranger, through the paces as Kellogg goes by. And that has got to be heartbreaking to see. You know, look at the crew guys working. The driver's getting ready for some Hollywood movie.
Well,
and the crew guys working.
Yeah, that's very depressing in our sport. You know, you have a problem, and there goes your competition by, and you know that you still got 3 minutes to go before you get running.
Exactly, and he's got just as much a chance to have a problem down the road as you do.
Yeah.
And they'll go ahead and get that BF Goodrich Chevrolet back underway. Hang loose, brother. Everything is okay. They say they're ready to go. You'll get that window net down and go back to racing.
They're happy guys right now.
Oh, you bet. You bet they are. And they still got one more spare left to go. They can do this again.
Yeah, but they better find a jack.
Boy, off-road racing is an experience. I know that Rod has won the Baja many times, and boy, he can tell you so many stories about what happens. And the driver's happy to see somebody. They're waving at everyone as they come by the camera location. Here's another shot of the Hummer cam as they continue to build up mile an hour. And again, we've talked about this is where you've got to make up time. But as you just saw there on the left, a huge rock to your left. And Rod, how easy it is to negotiate something and hit that.
Well, but one of the problems could be, Larry, is if you're following a guy in his dust, you can hit that rock and not even see it.
Good shot of Bill Webb as he takes the number 22 Class 10 car through its paces. Another guy that's got to drive this thing alone. And boy, I tell you what, that's what makes it real tough. You've got a lot of things to think about out here. You think the guys that co-drives are having problems? How about doing this all by your lonesome? Bob Nesty making his way through the motions in his Rancho BFG Ford Ranger. Looks like everything going well for him. And Raymond Fisher continues to do well in the Rancho Suspension Reno 400. We'll be back. At the end of lap number 1, we're back at the Rancho Reno 400. Austin Robinson and Bill Thompson, the co-driver, bringing in their Hummer into the BFG pit area, currently running in the 11th spot. Rod, we're at the end of lap number 1. What's going on now?
Well, I'm sure that Austin is very concerned about the condition of the car. He's hit a lot of rocks. He's made some mistakes out there. He's probably used the car up, so he wants to be sure that the crew looks the car over to see if things are falling off, if shocks are leaking, if there's a low tire. He wants to be sure it's in good shape when he leaves.
Well, a lot of people obviously making up this BF Goodrich team, and they're working pretty hard to get them dialed in. Boy, the BF Goodrich team really come to life for the Hummer, and I'll tell you, we're going to get a word now and find out what it's like out there with co-driver Billy Thompson with Danny Thompson.
How is it out there?
Very dirty and dusty. The course has got so much silt on it, it just gets in the car and stays there. It won't, you can't get rid of it.
So it's going to get much, much worse as the race progresses.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be pretty rough out there as the day goes on.
And as we continue to watch pit stops, in the second spot, Raymond Fisher, and we saw a lot of him in the segments before. He has had a great day. He's running in spot number 2 right now. Hopefully he can get up there and win this thing overall. He has got a very good shot at it, Rod.
Yes, and he's had a good lap, so he's feeling pretty good right now. He's taking care of his car, and he knows he's in second place probably, so he's in a good shape.
And Tony Allen currently running in the 9th position. Also, we followed him up a canyon. He really had it down pat. The best thing going for these guys is they have seen some of the worst, but there's still a lot to come because it's going to get even rougher as these trucks continue to work into their area, and they continue to work into these beat-up areas that they've been running over. Jim Jennings now brings his BF Goodrich Chevrolet into the pit. He currently runs in the 10th position, and the crew goes to work. Don German comes by. He's currently in the 7th position, and he's had a good run. We followed him earlier in the race. Going to be interesting to see how he is later on.
Yeah, Don German has done just what he wanted. He's got a lap in. he takes it easy the first lap. He goes faster as the race goes on.
And they're making sure that Jim Jennings and Mr. Kennedy are okay as they take off in their Chevrolet-powered BF Goodrich race entry. White truck looks pretty good, Rod.
Yeah, it does. Well, Jim, you know, he wanted to go easy. He wanted to be smart.
And the 13th position right now is John Herman.
John, how is it out there?
That's a rough son of a gun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Dusty?
Pretty dusty, a lot of silt. It's starting to get pretty hot. We're starting to run pretty warm. I don't know how long we can push it that hot.
How's the truck running otherwise?
I think we're doing okay. We need some bigger tires to get over them rocks. You know, we're kind of banging up the underside pretty bad, but I think we'll just keep plugging away.
Survival of the fittest might be the name of the game today?
I tell you, I think we're just four-wheeling out there. We're just taking our time trying to get around the big ones.
Well, Rod, it sounds like you're not his best buddy right now.
Well, maybe not, but he's going to have an experience of a lifetime out
Well, he's
there.
got some problems right now, Rod. What are they fixing?
They're working on his transfer case. He's got a crack in it, so they're going to epoxy it. Just
I
kind of
wonder how that got there, Rod. Thanks to you and your rocks.
Yeah, probably one of them rocks.
Well, it looks like they got him back underway. Big John Herman going to pull that thing out and go tackle this for another lap. Big John Herman pulls his Jeep out of the pit area. Here's your race leader, Everett Paul. His family totally involved in the operation, and he's had a fantastic run today. Remember, he's leading this thing. He may have came in the pit second, but he's actually with the faster cars. And Danny's with him.
How is it out there?
Oh, it's a hard... Oh, man, you wouldn't believe it. It's beautiful. It's freeway. You're going real fast, and then here's this rock garden, and you're bouncing
Your
off
air.
the rocks. You don't even know where you're going.
Your air, push back.
All right. And then we're back on the freeway, and you're going so fast, you're scaring yourself for 3 or 4 miles, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. And then we're in the rock gardens. It just beats you to death. Those rocks are terrible. Here, Judy. Clean the rest of this window, Judy. Judy, here.
Judy, it's a family affair for your leader, Everett Paul, and they're taking real care at straightening out those wheels, Rod.
Yeah, I don't even know why he's doing that because the tire's still holding air.
Well, you know what they say, man. You don't have to look pretty. Just get it to finish. Well, it's very obvious that tires are a very important part of today's race and today's outcome of the race. Danny Thompson talked about it earlier in the program, and now we're going to find out from our broadcast partner, Danny Thompson, what's going on.
Hi, I'm standing here with Jeff Cummings from BF Goodrich. He's the regional marketing manager here for the Reno area and has a lot to do with the race up here in Reno this weekend. And Jeff, what kind of involvement does the area and the branch areas have with this type of a race?
Well, one of the things that we do is we involve our local dealers in terms of involving them at display booths like at the convention center. We have all of our sales support staff are up here working the event where we're teaching them about our involvement in off-road racing, that it's not just making some of the most durable tires in the world, but the kind of support program that we bring to the off-road racing venues.
We got a couple of tires here in the background. Is this a typical tire that's going to be run this weekend?
Well, as a matter of fact, the tires that we've got behind us here is the Baja TA, and without a doubt, this is one of the most durable tires that roams the planet. We have yet to really see any of our competitors come up with anything that will even come close. It features fairly unique construction in as much as it uses a 3-ply casing, but a total of 4 plies in the sidewall, 7 plies in the tread. And as you see what is going on out there in the race course, they need every bit of this kind of durability. We've got some of the toughest ground on the planet out here in the Nevada desert, and it takes something like our Baja TA with its open aggressive lugs to get good bite and good traction, but yet the durability to withstand the abuse and the punishment that these racers will be doling out over the next 400 miles.
Well, you see the guys working on the BFG trailer. We're going to be right back with the Reno 400 right after this. Welcome back to the 1995 Rancho Suspension Reno 400 off-road race. Drivers getting ready to go on their second lap now, and with some helpful pointers, let's go to Rod Hall.
When you're coming through here and you see a bush and a rock like this, if you can't see through the bush, you don't want to be driving over it. Bush like that could end your day.
Well, Rod, you see the second place driver right now, Ray Fisher, is having a great day on your race course.
Well, yeah, and he's doing just what he wants still. He's under control of his car.
And that's exactly the key here. Be in control, because you don't want to have any problems at all when you're out here in the middle of 400 miles. And let's find out exactly how he felt about it. We caught up with him earlier.
I think we're going to have an advantage over him. There's a lot of hills out there. There's some great large boulders that we have to get over, transverse over. I can go through that much swifter at a little less speed than the Class 8s without getting hung up on them, and I think we'll do pretty good.
Well, he's talking about mastering your race course, Rod, and that's going to be a big key. Can you play it hard? Here's a shot of Tony Allen now coming right for our camera location. Tony Allen's having a great race here, but one thing these guys got to keep in mind, they are racing that clock, not necessarily racing the guy in front of them. Remember, staggered start times in the beginning of the race leads for everybody getting to finish together. Here's another shot of the Hummer making its way down one of the many lengthy, fast fire roads here. Rod, speeds up 100 miles an hour?
Well, some of the cars can reach 100 miles an hour, yes. This particular terrain right here is probably 70, 80, which is fast.
Plenty fast on this type of race course. Tony Allen still continuing to navigate the Chevrolet through the rough tundra here in Reno, Nevada. Rod, I'll tell you what, you did make a tough race course for these kids.
Well, yes, I did. It took me about 6 months to get it organized, but I finally got what I wanted.
Well, it certainly looks like you got what you wanted, but I don't think these drivers wanted what you gave them. But it's part of the Rancho Reno 400, the world's toughest off-road race, and Speed Vision bringing it to you as we continue with race action. Tony Allen again taking a good look at his Chevrolet pickup, co-driver waving along, and they're pretty friendly right now, but you got to believe they are looking for a checkered flag. Don German continuing to pound away at the race course. And as you can see now, it's getting a lot dustier out there, and it gets tougher. And Rod, as the course wears on, it gets more silt developed.
Well, yes, it does. The ruts get deeper, but then a lot of times cars close in on you too, you know, because you get closer, the cars start having to eat each other's dust.
Here comes Jennings now. You saw him earlier in the pit stop. They were right on the mark here. That's a beautiful looking race truck they drive. Mr. Kennedy does his co-driving with him. And, you know, Bill has done a great job because Jennings is hammering that throttle, but Bill's the one who's telling them where to go. And, you know, the best thing about this is they're running on already made fire roads. Yeah, they got to do a little bit of work to make it work right, but these guys are navigating together on roads that already exist. So they actually are able to make up some time, but it is still rough. These roads are not traveled every day, and this is about the only time of the year you really see anybody out there other than the power companies doing maintenance work.
Well, that's about it. You know, all this course was laid out on existing trails, and so some of them were very faint at one time, like you said, but after this race, there are going to be some good tracks out there to follow.
Exactly. Jennings again, good looking shot at the Chevrolet as they continue up the hill. Jennings, of course, looking for an overall victory here. Boy, would that add a feather to his cap. The person who wins the inaugural Reno Rancho 400 is going to take home a big piece of bragging rights until next year. Everybody wants to win the big one. Here's Sid Smith again, the Humbug Racing Team. These guys have done a fantastic job getting this car ready to go. And as you can see, he's been driving it alone and doing a fantastic job. These guys continue to hammer a very tough race course. And you can see now the dust coming off the front wheels, Rod.
Well, yes, you can. And in the foreground there, you can see dust ahead of him, so you know he's catching somebody up there. He's going to have some problems working pretty soon.
Currently in the 5th spot, looking for number 4, then for number 3, then for number 2, and then to try to take a shot at your leader. Well, here's John Herman. He works for Rod Hall. We asked him if it's an advantage.
Well, I think sometimes it gives me both. It gives me an advantage and a disadvantage. I get a lot of help with my truck, and I got to see the course probably before anybody else did, but then maybe I have to perform a little more out there and kind of keep people off my back. You know, you got to put the pedal down a little harder once in a while maybe.
Well, there you have it. One of your boys out there pounding the Reno 400, Rod. I don't know what you're doing to this kid.
Well, I tell you right now, Larry, he's just happy to be out here racing. He worked on that truck day and night to get this baby ready for the race. So he's here and he's doing just what he wants.
Well, since he works for you, Rod, obviously this is a big R&D session for him, but he is doing a great job piloting that beautiful Dodge pickup truck, and it's heavy duty, and he's been heavy on the throttle. Here's Everett Paul, your race leader, and boy, has he just been knocking him dead. Now remember, Everett came in that pit stop after people in his class, but because of the time start, Everett is the overall leader, meaning he is going much faster on this race course than anybody else, and he is making some time, and man, he is flat-footing it. Todd Denton, another one of the drivers who's doing very well in Class 10. He's got things going his way, too, and he's looking like he's going to try to catch it.
Well, I think he is, too. You know, he's doing a very smooth race. And right here now, you see the Hummer and
Bob
the
Land
Jeep there. Yeah.
Bob Land just getting hammered on. And look at this, Austin now just looking for a way around. Now, you got to be a little courteous here, don't you, Ron?
Well, yes, you do. Now, see, the problem is Bob Land didn't know he's behind him right at the moment. You saw them both go off the track, right? Well, what was doing, Austin was following him, so he wasn't reading the road, so he went with him when he went off the road.
Well,
that happens a lot.
Tailgating somebody on a dirt road with curves and rocks at 80, 90 miles an hour, incredible. We'll be right back with the Reno 400 right after this.
One of the most important features of any type of motorsports is communication, and the desert presents a unique problem in that. Everything is so far apart, so widespread. But we got an expert here, Radio Bob. Today it's going to be a very challenging day for you, trying to keep all these drivers and all the checkpoint people and everybody in check. What exactly is your responsibility on race day?
The responsibility will be to either use this microphone or one of many. I'll have this van set up on a mountaintop with 5 ground relay locations. If anyone is broken down with their car, they can call us, we'll get help in. If they're injured or see an accident, they can call me. It's my responsibility to get a ground medical group or a helicopter in there for medical emergencies. We want a safe race, we want everybody to have a good time, and we want to see them all at the finish line.
Well, I tell you what, Rod, with the way you laid this course out, I don't know if I'd want to be Radio Bob this afternoon. Dave Weston took care of his flat tire. He's back underway and trying to continue in this Rancho Reno 400, and boy, I tell you, it's now starting to take its toll on people.
Well, yes, it is. In fact, now he's down a couple of minutes. He knows he's got to make it up.
Well, here's Clayton Stutter. He's currently running in the 11th position. Scudder had a pretty good run in the first lap, but now he's really starting to make some time back up. Here's Bill Webb, and Bill currently runs in spot number 8. Now, he's been jockeying back and forth, Rod, and I think that he's making up some time, but he had some extreme difficulties in the canyons.
Well, yes, he did, because it's very tough on the buggies to get through that really tight stuff through there. So, you know, if you get behind somebody, you know, that might just get your timing off a little bit.
But one thing each of these drivers know is they are getting towards a checkpoint. That means the race is closing in length. Here's Austin Robinson. You saw him just rear end Bob Land out of the way a few moments ago. He's continuing to take that turbocharged diesel Hummer on farther down the race course. This thing, it's getting interesting now because people are starting to get close. Here is Mr. Land. He's the one who's probably got some Hummer marks in the back of that Jeep.
Yes, well, probably in that situation where they're at, the four-wheel drive vehicle probably had an advantage to negotiate that really difficult area because Bob Land had the two-wheel drive truck there.
Yeah, he's got his work cut out for him. That thing was in mothballs. It's hard to believe he's lasted this long.
Well, yeah, but, you know, it all comes down to prep, and he said he put a lot of energy in that.
Here's Clayton Scudder again as he stops now to confirm his place in the race. Remember, Scudder running in the 11th position right now. Now he makes his way back down into the fire road section. Here comes Weston in the pits now. He has moved up into 2nd spot overall. But he's having a great race. And here's Danny with him.
Well, we're running there. Yeah, we're doing okay. I think we're a little under spring, so we're getting a lot of bounce. But car's running good. The BFG tires are running incredible, and we're just going to keep plodding along.
And they're still continuing to get Westham out of there. Tony McCormick, his co-driver, having everything his way. Westham now in spot number 2. That's a great advantage for him as he goes out on yet another lap.
Yes, and he's all fired up now. You know, he's got that lap or 2 under there, and he's ready to go see what that Chevy truck will do now.
Exactly, and now he knows where he's at, so he's now shooting for the number 1 spot. He wants to be top dog on the porch. Here comes John Herman. He's in 10th spot, electing not to pit this time as they come through. Might be an advantage later on down the road, Rod.
Very well could be. He's got enough fuel to go, you know, 2 laps, so if you don't have to, don't stop.
And now he's having a problem as the course worker comes up to check out what's going on. But Rod, looks like he may have a problem with that the transfer case he had earlier.
Yes, that's John Claudia. You can take a look at her to see how bad it's leaking is what he's looking for.
And Everett Paul goes by. Now remember, he was your early race leader, but he's had problems in the second lap. He now sits in position number 3.
And there's John Herman going out to see if he can get back ahead of Everett Paul.
Okay, Hummer coming back into the pits now. Austin Robinson and Dr. Court, his co-driver, trying to sort out where they are. As you know, they're starting to make their way up. They were in 7th spot when they came into the pit area, so things looking pretty good for him as they get ready to go now, checking under the hood, making sure everything is okay.
Yeah, and they're looking again to see, you know, if anything's leaking, anything's falling off.
That's exactly right. And here's Danny.
out there?
It's rough.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You look a little dirty.
Yeah. Got a little leak in the radiator. Been having to stop and put water in it. But besides that, been running pretty well.
As they continue to look under the hood of the turbocharged diesel Hummer, things looking like they're going to be able to continue on, but you know, this gets really tough.
Well, this is where the four-wheel drive is going to take some advantage.
Hey, how's your ride?
Oh, it's a wild ride.
Rough out there?
Yeah, it's rough, but the truck's doing great. It really is. It's unbelievable what it can take. Unbelievable. He's doing a great job. They're throwing rocks all over the place now. The whole course is covered with them. Not even, they used to be if you just stayed on the road, you're okay. Now you got to like avoid them, and there's so much dust. The silt, every time we hit a dust cloud, can't see for 50 feet. It's scary.
As dusty inside as it is outside when you hit that silt?
Well, yeah, it just comes right. You can't see. Actually, it's worse with the windshield because it doesn't clear as fast. But we're trying to drive around as much as we can, but just can't.
Well, they're still continuing to work on the race vehicle. Now, obviously, Dr. Court's much used to a cleaner facility than he is out here at the Reno 400. They're going to go ahead and continue on in car number 864, that turbocharged diesel Hummer.
Well, it seems like it's running good for him, too, right now.
And they're taking off now. Rod, a lot of miles. Now fatigue starts to set in. They're closing in on what looks to be part of the roughest portion of this racetrack now. Now things are really beat up. Every time they hit him, it hurts. Bill Webb has moved up into position now as he gets ready to start yet another lap. Now remember, these Class 10 cars are really going strong in this race car, and they have been some of the fastest cars out there. And as we continue, things are tightening up in the Reno Rancho 400. We'll be right back. Don't go away. The Reno 400 is now 200 miles in the books. Another tough 200 miles to go. But Rod Hall, I don't even think you expected the Reno 400 to be this tough.
Well, no, I didn't, Larry. You might have got a little too carried away with some of the spots on the course. The course is out there, it's using up the cars, it's using up the machines, it's using up the teams. But as the day goes on, we'll see what happens.
Let me ask you a question. You've done it a million times. Does it get harder as the race wears on?
Yes, it gets harder, it doesn't get easier. You learn the course a little bit, but the course gets tougher and meaner.
And Westham still continues to lead this. He has gone into the lead now, and he is really hammering. Now, Westham's whole strategy, Dave said he was going to go out there, play the first 2 laps, and then he's going racing. And that's exactly what's happening. And he's got the paddle out now, and he's starting to spank some people, Rod.
Well, see, and his strategy changes now, you see. He got through the first part without the mistakes. But see, he's in the lead now. So now he has to continue what he did, only pick up the pace because he knows the guys are chasing him.
And they are coming, let me tell you. Here comes Fisher right now. He has done a great job all day long. He's continuing just to hammer in that Jeep. And I'm going to tell you something about Fisher. He said before this thing even started, he wanted to win this race right now.
Well, he's in a very good position to do it, too. He's done exactly as he's wanted today. He's been trouble-free all day. So he's in good shape.
Sid Smith now getting in front of Westham. Now remember, Westham is your overall race leader. Smith, though, is not doing a bad job. He's in 4th. Now remember, this is all because of the staggering. This is why this is happening. Here's Denton. He's in 2nd spot overall. But as you can see, and we saw in the chart when we went to commercial, it is starting to close up. And Rod, the dust plays a factor. The rocks play a factor. The track is beat. Look at those tires bouncing around. You don't think those guys in there are hurting right now? All they want to do is see a white flag and a checkered flag and go home. They're getting beat up.
Well, the position now, see, Larry, is that we started the slower cars first, which is unusual. So now the faster cars are catching the slower cars. It's going to be a problem for the faster cars because of the dust and the way things are tightening up now. It's going to be tougher for the fast cars to get around the slower cars.
Well, they're going to have to do something because nobody's pulling over in this one. It's too important to win this Reno Rancho 400. Here you have Webb, number 22. You've seen a lot of him on television. He has been doing great. Billy Webb continuing just to pound it out. Now, here's an interesting point. Two-wheel drive vehicle. They're having a little bit more problems in the canyons, but when they get in the flats, they can run wide open. The car's very light. They get down those fire roads, and they go incredibly fast.
Well, yes, and you know, there's less moving parts, so they can pound them harder out there in the rough stuff when they go fast. Catch air, land, catch air, land. They get away with a lot of that.
And here comes Pat Taylor now, and he takes his Ford Ranger up another notch. Now, Taylor had a lot of trouble going up into the canyons in the first lap, but it looks like he's kind of sorted himself out. Unfortunately for him, he's running in last place. But with the problems he had earlier, he's lucky to be running at all.
Well, that's right, and it's only halfway through the race. So in this kind of event, you know, you can be down a half hour and still end up winning.
I'm telling you, it gets tougher and tougher and tougher. And you can tell, taking a look at Kellogg here as he takes number 7. Look at the dips in the course. Those weren't there in lap number 1. They weren't there in lap number 2. Oh, it's like Rod Hallman out there with a shovel and a bobcat and dug booby traps for these guys. These guys are hitting stuff at speed that they do not know is there.
Well, yeah, because the course changes each time you come around. So you got, you know, you're in for a surprise a lot of times out there.
I'm going to tell you, they're changing the color of the fire suits internally. It is very rough out there. But that's all part of off-road racing. They sit in the trucks for hours on end to try to battle. We said at the top of the show, why do they do it? We don't know. They do it, and it's entertaining. We love to watch it. More importantly, guys like you, Rod, love to participate in it.
Well, yes, you know, you're out there all by yourself, and you're getting the most out of the machine and yourself. It's a self-type, you know, accomplishment thing, obviously.
And unfortunately for Kellogg, his motor dies out. Tough break for him. Now, this is an interesting story here. These guys missed tech. They missed everything. They have no chance of winning this race. None at all. Zero. They are running for nothing. No money, nada. They're out there because they love to do it. I don't think they talked to you before they went out there to see just how tough this 400 miles is. But I'll tell you what, BF Goodrich, Rancho suspension. What do they use this for? Testing and development. Where does that end up? On your personal car, on your personal truck, on your off-road vehicle. This is where they get all the technology. And check out Westham right now as he continues to lead this race. You want to talk about getting some good information? These video shots they take, a lot of these guys have onboard video cameras. They're photographing suspension, photographing tires, photographing everything in the truck, the rear swing link. They're tracking all this stuff, and they take that right back to the factory to improve the consumer product. That's what off-road racing is all about.
Well, we actually do that with our Hummers, too. When we take you know, the car apart after the race, we mark all the parts, we send them back to the different sponsors, let them look at them so they can evaluate real-time testing.
As we see the cars taking off, the Hummer pulls over with another problem. Now, obviously, they stated they had a problem earlier, and it looks like they have another problem. And fortunately for them, they obviously stopped somewhere on the race course where there were some people around. This isn't his pit crew. These are spectators or part of a pit crew from another team helping them out, and our cameras are right there. Let's hear what happened.
I'm trying to baby this thing. Every while we got to pull over and put water in it. But I think we might have fixed the leak, so if we can just get water in it now.
Because it's like hit the block and go a little bit.
Yeah, it's down to 180. We're in good shape.
Well, Rod, it looks like Old Faithful's ready to go, and the Hummer going to continue on. Boy, what a tough piece of equipment. And look at these guys. These are pit crews and fans and everything else just helping these off-road guys out. Very unusual. Let's find out why these guys helped out.
We're just helping out the Hall team because they're friends of us and we raced together for a few years in the past, and besides, they're fellow racers. Doesn't matter what team they're on, you just help them out.
All right, you heard it. We'll be right back with the Rancho Reno 400. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Rancho Reno 400. Things are going to start getting a little bit tough, and chocks are going to make a major part of it. Let's go down to Danny Thompson.
Title sponsor of the Nevada 400, Rancho Suspension, and Colin Butcher. I think it's something unique with a Rancho suspension. There are different shocks and stuff. You can actually go out and buy something off the shelf, dial it in for a particular car, whether it's a buggy or whether it's a truck.
We make what we call the low budget shock for the guy, you know, that doesn't have the big class $8, which is our 5,000 take apart. And as on this one here, this is the high buck units, which are totally externally adjustable. You know, ride, as you know, as a racer, is all seat of the pants. And 20 guys will drive a truck and you'll have 20 guys' opinions.
If shocks are going to play a major role in the Rancho Reno 400, right here is where it's going to happen. Bob Land is in the 11th spot, and look at him, Rod. He's having a tough time through the rock garden.
Well, he's taking it easy, but I tell you what, that's tough on the suspension, that's tough on tires and wheels through here. This is actually one of the most difficult parts of the race course.
Now here's your race leader. Now he is headed for that area. Now remember, due to the staggered starts, that's why your leader is actually behind the 11th place driver. But that's not going to be for long, Rod?
Well, yes, and right in here is where you're going to see that when the immigrants were coming over, this part of the race course was known as the 40-mile desert. It was the toughest, meanest part. More animals, more people died in this 40-mile stretch than any other part of the trek west clear to Sacramento.
That's Interstate 80 running along in the background, and boy, that's a tough piece of real estate in a passenger car. Here we see George Reese, who has just about tore the bodywork off of the back end of his car. He is in spot number 13 right now. And then you've got John Herman. Now, John, we've talked to him, we've heard from him, he's been on the race course, but he's now navigating up to the rock garden. And look at how rough it is. The silt is covering the rocks, but the silt has been blown out of there so bad that they're hitting everything, Rod.
Oh, yes, this will become one of the most famous rock gardens in the world. You notice how that's nothing but lava rock. You're not going to hurt nothing there, you're just going to hurt your cars.
Talked about tires at the top of the show, talked about suspension all during the show. This is what it's all about. Now, you may not think they're going fast there, but try driving over that. That's hitting your head on the roll bar, hitting your helmet against the roll bar. It's rough.
That's right. This is where John Herman said he wished he had taller tires.
Exactly, and you're seeing it now. I mean, some of these rocks are going all the way up to the center point of his axle. These guys have a lot left to go. And remember, the thing here is to finish and survive. If you can't get through the rock garden, you might as well go home.
Well, this is one of the secrets of desert racing. You got to know what fast is. Maybe 15 miles an hour is fast enough right there.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And they're still making their way across the desert. Here's Bob Land in the 11th spot right now, and Bob still having some problems in that silt, Rod.
Well, yeah, so one of the problems right here, Larry, is the fact that that silt's so deep that you can't see the rocks buried in the course, and you can slam on them things and just do yourself in.
And you know there's rocks on the course because you can see them everywhere on the outside of the course. It's a lonely destiny, but there's dust up ahead, and that is a big sign. That's the momentum. That's what keeps you going, to see that last bit of dust up ahead of you. Here you have Westham. He's making tracks, trying to get out of everybody's hair, trying to extend that lead. Look at how fast they're going in those corners, Rod.
Well, yes, looks like he's in a pretty big hurry right now, doesn't it?
Well, he's just entering the rock garden, so we're going to see just how well prepared he is.
You see that stack of tires there, don't you?
Yeah, that's exactly what that's for, to do a little bit of changes there. George Reese comes in. He's in the 13th spot, car number 1002. He has a few problems. They're checking him out before he goes, giving him the old hammer test with the fist, and then they're going to let him go. Little does he know, he's probably going to need those tires in about 3 miles, not right now.
Well, it looks like he's doing a little adjustment there on this left front wheel there, too.
And you can tell how calculated that adjustment is with the sledgehammer.
Yes. Well, anything to keep it running, that's the whole problem.
It's the name of the game. Finish the Rancho Reno 400. Man, it's been an incredible race. And these guys are still smiling, still having fun.
Well, yeah, it looks like they even found some mud out there, Larry. I see the numbers. We have to keep wiping the numbers off. I think they got some mud out there somewhere.
Yeah, they got it somewhere, but there was no water truck in the front of this race. I'll tell you that right now.
Doesn't look like it.
There he goes, taking his way off into the rock garden. Probably the most fun he's had in 10 years of racing. Well, as Reese continues to go up into the rock garden, we know that our leader is still Dave Westham, but just a mere 3 minutes and 39 seconds behind is Todd Denton. We'll be back with more of the Rancho Reno 400 right after this. Welcome back to the Rancho Reno 400, and things are tightening up. Here we got a shot of Clayton Slutter, who is in spot number 7. Scudder running the number 211 Class 1 entry. He has been strong all day, currently sitting in spot number 7 as he navigates his way through a deep silt bed with rocks everywhere, Rod.
Yeah, he's got to be careful here. You know, he's worked hard to be where he is, but now he's got to start putting the pressure on.
You talk about finishing the Reno Rancho 400. What you've got to talk about now is the finish. You've got to talk about where you're at. Now he's not looking at a finish, he's looking at a top 10 finish, and boy, would that be a trophy to put on your mantle. And remember, he's also running very hard up there up front in his class. Here you have Bob Land, who is currently running in spot number 10. Bob now making his way out, and remember, we are on the last lap of the Rancho Reno 400.
Well, that's right. And the thing is now, Larry, these guys are jockeying for positions. They only might be a minute and a half. See, they know where they're at. Their crews say, you got 1 minute on 6th place, so you got to know where you're at, and you got to fight to keep your position.
Now it's for keeps. Now wherever they end up on this lap, that's what they get to take home. So obviously the adrenaline is pumping. Tony Allen currently sits in spot number 11. He is one of the last trucks that's on the race course that is still running. This track has had a lot of attrition. A lot of people just went by the wayside. As we talked about, this is the toughest off-road race we've ever seen. And right now, Tony Allen just glad to be running in this one.
Well, yes, he is. I'll tell you what, everybody's glad to be running on the last lap. I mean, they know they've got through probably the toughest part of the day.
An accomplishment, Rod, would you think that just finishing is a big accomplishment?
Well, I'll tell you what, this track has become so tough that I think that anybody finish this race is going to be a winner in my books.
Yeah, they better be a winner in your books. Heck, they paid you to race and you built the race course. Tony Allen continues to hammer down on his Chevrolet on his way to what he hopes will be a top 10 finish. He's trying to make some time on Bob Land as they continue to get them V8s flying through the desert here in Reno.
Well, you know, it looks like they're out there by themselves, but you know, just a second ago you saw where there's this guy tailgating him in back there. He might be a quarter of a mile back, but I tell you, the guy in the Chevy knows the fella's coming.
Well, there is dust on the horizon. There is dust in back of him. Things are definitely tightening up. Remember, it is the last lap, and here you have a guy who is sitting in the thick of things here. Car number 1003, Todd Denton, had a little problem getting out of the rock garden. As he goes into his next lap, he's some 6 minutes behind, but in 6 minutes is not a lot of time to make up on this long of a race course. Plus, he's in a car that on the flatland can out-accelerate and outrun anything in its class. So he is looking now to really make some time. Here's Sid Smith. This is getting close. Sid is in the 3rd spot. Sid does not know, though, where Westham is. Dave Westham is up in front of this race, but I don't think Sid knows just how close he is.
Well, Sid knows one thing. He's got to drive that buggy for all it's worth, because this is the home stretch, and this is your last chance to get it done.
Yeah, there's no turning around here, boy. You run what you brung now. Now's not a time to ease off. Now's the time to put the pedal to the metal, hope for the best. If you got to take a chance now, so be it. You take that chance.
Well, this is a race. A race is sometimes you take chances.
And obviously, these guys have all taken big chances. Here's Austin Robinson again in the turbo-powered diesel Hummer. He's going through, making it to his last lap. That's going to make the folks at Hummer feel real proud.
Well, yes, it does.
All right, well, we're going to be back. Who's going to win? I don't know. Don't go away, because we'll be right back with the Rancho Reno 400. Well, we've got a major problem on the race course right now. Your leader, Dave Westham, has got a flat tire. Now remember, Denton was only 6 minutes behind. This is going to cost him all kinds of time. And wow, incredible. Let's go back with Danny Thompson and Ivan Stewart.
Here at the Reno 400 race, and kind of a common face around off-road racing, you'd say, the famous, legendary Ivan the Ironman Stewart. I hear you have a new series you're working on. It's called Champ Trucks.
That's right.
And maybe you can tell us a little bit about this.
Well, Danny, as you know, that I think there's a tremendous amount of people out there that would love to come off-road racing with us. If it be stadium, desert, short course, whatever it might be, Baja, Nora race, whatever it is, we know it's extremely expensive. So what I've formed is a company to build level playing field, fun, affordable race trucks.
Do you think that possibly next year here at the Reno 400 that we'll see some Ivan Stewart Champ Trucks out here?
Well, I tell you what, my son Brian wants one in the worst way, and my other son Gary, who's up here today. So absolutely, there's no doubt that next year we'll see some Champ Trucks here racing.
Going back out of the race course, a good shot now of the man who could win this whole thing, Todd Denton, as he continues to hammer on the race course. Now, Denton has no way of knowing right now that there was a flat tire on the vehicle in front of him. Of course, that was Dave Westham. They are trying to get back underway. Here's a good shot of Bob Land now as he continues to go through the rock garden. Remember, this is the final lap. This is the last time they're getting through.
Yeah, and this is where you got to leave your chin a little bit there, Larry. You know, you got to give it everything you got, and sometimes you have to take a chance or two.
And if you take that chance, man, what's it going to cost you? Will it cost you the finish? Well, it's too late to worry about that now. You got to go for broke. This is off-road racing. This is what it's all about. But right now they're in the silt beds, and that's the roughest part to be. The rock garden, the silt beds. It's testing man and machine. Here's another shot of Raymond Fisher, who's had just an outstanding afternoon. He's going to be able to talk about this one for a while because he ran in contention for a long, long time.
Well, yeah, and he's going to be giving it whatever he's got left too, because he's in there and he knows that Big John Herman is right behind him.
And he's currently running at spot number 6. And John Herman, nobody to mess around with. We talked about that. He'll run you right off the road. And now on the final lap, people aren't going to be so courteous. They got to get there, got to hold their position and go.
Well, and you know, if you use it up a little bit now, it's okay because you only got 20 more miles to go or something. You don't still have 200 miles to go.
Exactly. You do not have to go back to this again. So the last time, or this time that you hit it, will be the last time you hit it. And as you can tell, Raymond Fisher still accelerating, trying to get out. Here is the man who can rest it all right now. Car number 1003, Todd Denton, is absolutely flying, trying to make up valuable time. The problem with Dave Weston may be fates for him. May make him a winner. As you can see now, the truck's going through the silt bed. Look how deep the silt is. And this truck's going to get stuck. That's truck number 701. They've been having some problems with it. That's Kellogg's entry. Kellogg now getting some help from some people that are out in the middle of the race course. But now you can see how deep that silt is, and he is stuck big time.
Yes, he is, and that's one of the disadvantages of a two-wheel drive vehicle out here is because when you do make a mistake, you know, you don't have the four-wheel drive to compensate for your problem.
Now look at the sides of the track, how deep that is. It's got to be 3 feet deep in sections. That truck is stuck, and they're going to have to work to get that truck out.
Yeah, that's one of the unfortunate things about lap races. The ruts just keep getting deeper.
And you can see now that Sid Smith, who is currently running in spot number 3, is headed for that area. Now the question is there enough room to get by? Because if not, Sid's going to have to take a real off-road excursion, and that not may be wise. There's the blockage right up ahead, and Sid's going to have to try to negotiate around it. This may be telltale sign of where Mr. Smith finishes this one. Look at the great shot of the helicopter backing on in. Sid gets tired. Look at that.
And Sid gets
And the
stuck.
helicopter has hit the high power lines. The helicopter has hit the high power lines trying to photograph Sid Smith. They're yelling out of the helicopter now to stay away from the live wires. Boy, Sid Smith, I think Sid may have heard that. He's trying to get out of the area. Oh, what a tough break for not only Sid, but the helicopter as well.
Well, this is where Sid Smith's got to stay calm. He can't get all excited with all this stuff going on around him.
Okay, let's look at it again in slow motion. Here's the helicopter. You see the high power lines. Here's Sid Smith. You can hear it. You can hear the lines coming. Now you can see the lines falling. That is live voltage right there, and it almost got one of the crew workers. One wire remains, a tough break, and they land the helicopter immediately, and Sid Smith gets on the way. Meanwhile, they're trying to get the 701 truck out of there, but it doesn't look like Joe Kellogg's going anywhere, and there is live wires in that area, a very dangerous place to be. Look how deep it is. That's a great illustration of Raymond Fisher going through a deep silt bed. Look at it. You want to talk about abuse to a carburetor, abuse to an air filter, abuse to the fuel system? You're seeing it right here. Here's your second place driver, Todd Denton, and Todd trying to make up time.
If I was Todd Denton right now, I wouldn't raise my right foot for anything.
You bet, and he can see the dust up ahead of him. Denton knows he's making up time. And here comes Dave Weston's vehicle, and they're going, he's going into the pit area.
And look, he made the wrong, he should have went straight
He
there.
has gone the wrong way. He has gone the long way around this race course, and that's going to kill him. It's going to cost him time. Remember, he had a flat tire. Big problem. Todd Denton was able to make up a ton of time. Now he takes the long way around. He's going to have to slow down immensely to make this turn, and Denton's just going to hammer the throttle all the way home.
And as he comes into the pit area, he's got to slow down and make this really hard right-hand turn. That costs valuable time.
This is a big, big, big mistake for the Weston vehicle.
And he's got to accelerate again now. He's got to get back up to speed, but he's going through the pit area.
And Todd Denton is hammering the throttle. Checkered flag is going to come out for Dave Weston, but remember, this race is run on a clock. This is costing him. Look at how slow he's going.
Wow, that could be a very costly mistake.
Checkered flag is out. By no means is this race over. And here's Todd Denton still on the race course. Can he make up the time? This is going to be crucial. He's been making up time. We'll be right back. This one isn't over. Don't go away. Weston has crossed the finish line. Todd Denton now hammers his way through the final stretch. of the Reno Rancho 400. It's been a long, long day out on the race course. Here comes Todd Denton. Now remember, Dave Westham's vehicle made the wrong turn. Now we'll see if the same mistake is made twice. And Todd Denton stays on the right road. Denton is going to make up a bunch of time. Remember, he's already made up some 6 minutes on Dave Westham. This is a race that is done on the clock. Todd Denton now has his fate in his own hands. If he gets across the line in a quicker lap time, he will win this Reno Rancho 400. He's got 1 turn to go, a 90-degree turn, and this 8 hours, 400-mile race is going to come to an end. Checkered flag is out. He is going to pull up to the finish line, and he has won the Reno Rancho 400 by 13 seconds. He has won the race. So he made up the time. He made up the flat tire. What a heroic effort. Unbelievable run for this gentleman right here. Here is your winner, Todd Denton.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Appreciate it.
First.
Unbelievable. Denton wiping away the
Yeah.
dirt, salt from his face. Incredible. The Hummer comes across the line. Austin Robinson does a great job getting the turbocharged diesel Hummer through. My God, here comes Sid Smith. He'll finish in the 4th spot. A great run for him. He was in the hunt all day long. Unbelievable. Some 400 miles decided by 13 seconds. John Herman rolls home in 7th spot. A great run for him. Boy, what a fantastic event. Well, Rod, as we look at the final standings, your final thoughts.
Larry, the Reno 400 accomplished exactly what I wanted. This will be known as the toughest, meanest, dirtiest desert race of all. And I want to give thanks to Bob Bauer, Dan Newsom, Richard Hampton, Jeff Cummings, and a special thanks to Ed Perlman for starting all this stuff.
The 1995 Nora Rancho Suspension Reno 400 off-road race is done. For my broadcast partners Danny Thompson of the pits and Rod Hall in the booth, I'm Larry Naston. So long. This has been a presentation of Mars Incorporated, St. Louis, in association with Speed Vision.